Hi folks, Dave, the Honest Audiophile. This is the SMSL DO100 and HO100 DAC amp stack. And these are my honest audiophile impressions. I want to thank Aoshida Audio for providing the SMSL HO100 DO100 for review. Do greatly appreciate it. Aoshida Audio, you rock. Alright, so the SMSL DO100 DAC, that will set you back $240, and the HO100 amplifier will set you back $150. So you're looking at about a $400 setup for a pair of DAC amp for an external setup on your desk. The DAC. The DAC has a lot going for it and has a lot built in for a very small size. The DAC has dual DAC chips. They are the ES9038Q2M. Also has quad op amps of OPA 1612. Has a built-in power supply. Does inputs, USB, optical, coax, and Bluetooth. And oh, by the way, the USB is USB-C. You also get outputs of XLR and RCA. And it has a THD of 0.00008%. Dynamic range is going to be around 127 dB on RCA and 125 dB on XLR. Excuse me, XLR is 127 dB, RCA is 125 dB, and then SNR is 126 dB. And RCA is 124, so it measures very nicely if that matters to you. USB can do upwards of 32,768, and DSD. Also on optical, you can do up to DSD 64. Bluetooth 5.0 does aptX, aptX HD, LDAC, AAC, and all the others that you're wanting and needing if you use Bluetooth. And then the amplifier has balanced and unbalanced outputs for the headphones. Unbalanced, it's 3 watts at 16 ohms, 1.5 watts at 32 ohms, 200 milliwatts at 300, and 100 milliwatts at 600. So it's got a lot of power. THD on that is 123 dB. And the output impedance is what they list as near zero. Frequency response 20 hertz to 500 kilohertz. And then it does have a gain switch. So overall, there you go. There's some specs. There'll be links somewhere for you to be able to go and check them out and read about, as everybody else will explain it a whole lot better than me. But they are extremely small, very lightweight. They each weigh about 1.25 pounds. So you're looking at about 2.5 pounds for total weight. They're extremely light, very small, very about the size of a hand, and very, very, very thin. The DAC. So on the front, you have a volume control menu control, and there will be a display on here that shows various information. And then on the back side, you have your Bluetooth in, coax in, optical in, and then there's your USB-C, and then your 2 outputs, XLR and RCA, and there's your power supply in. Very simple setup, well thought out, and very easy to control cables on the back. And then your amplifier, here's your volume control, and does have a marking so that you kind of know how far up you have used. And then you have quarter out, 4.4 balanced out, does not have XLR out. And then you have your gain switch, which is low gain is negative 9.5 dB, middle is 0 dB or neutral normal, and then high is 15.5 dB. And then you have your, in the middle here is your selector for RCA or XLR in, and then you have your power switch. On the back side, you have your XLR in, RCA in, and your power in, and that's it. There is no outs on the amplifier. Overall, it's a very simple and easy to use amplifier and DAC, and they work very well together. It's a nice stack that I really did enjoy. But before we get into how they sound, do need to bring up a couple other things. First, you do get a remote control for the DAC, which works very well. You can control your inputs, change your filters, change all kinds of other settings. That it is very simple and easy to use. And then on top of that, you also can control the volume output of the DAC. One thing of note that was a significant problem. Now, I use Windows 11 with my PC, and the SMSL DO100 and my computer did not get along for about the first month that I had these in-house, which is why this review has taken so long. And I appreciate Aoshida Audio helping me through all those issues and also being very patient with this review. So with my Windows 11 computer and the SMSL DO100, they just would not agree, and I could not get it to output anything beyond 1644.1 for the longest time. I changed all kinds of settings on my computer and Audiophile and tried to get it to do anything further, but I could not get an option out of my computer that said anything higher than that. Reached out to Aoshida on several occasions. They gave me several helpful tips and pointers as to what to try and look for and to do. I reset my computer numerous times. I checked for updates. I changed the driver. I must have removed and reinstalled the SMSL drivers at least 10 times. And I also updated Windows 11 numerous times. And finally, after just trying and trying and trying over and over and over again, and basically getting to the point where I was about to tell Aoshida, I'm going to just return this and not review it because I can't get it to really do what it claims to do. And I think there's something wrong with it. It started working. Apparently I hurt its feelings or something. And it just was like, oh, I'm going to do what I'm supposed to do now and play DSD and all this other stuff. And so it all of a sudden, they just started to agree. And it worked great ever after. I had no problems whatsoever getting it to work with Audiophile and being able for Windows to output the higher bit rates and sample rates and all that. So it was a struggle. So you know, just keep that in mind. For whatever reason, if you use a Windows device, you may have issues connecting. Connecting other devices, I also had some problems. I tried connecting my phone. It did not like that very well whatsoever out of Android, but it did play it at some lower bit rates. Tried it also on my Chromebook, same thing. It found it and played it, but it was at lower bit rates. I want to thank my patrons and YouTube members for all that they provide to the channel. Appreciate your financial sacrifices that you have made to donate to the channel and support it. Do greatly appreciate all your comments and your love and support. And if it wasn't for your financial support, this channel would struggle to continue providing. And so I do greatly appreciate everything that you provide. You give me the drive for each and every video, and thank you very much. If you are interested in becoming a supporter of the channel through Patreon or through YouTube memberships, there are links down below. While you're down there, don't forget to give a thumbs up to the video or a thumbs down to the video, and also don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already and hit that notification bell. All right, so how do the SMSL DO100 and HO100 sound? Let's start with the DAC first. The DAC is a very smooth and rounded sound. I really do enjoy the sound of it. It has a nice balance, very cohesive to it, and it has a nice tonality. The bass of the DO100 is a well-controlled, very well detailed, natural and accurate sounding bass. There's good thump and a nice impact to things, and overall it stays very well controlled, gives you all the information that you're looking for without being over dominant. The mids of the DAC have a nice appealing approach to things, very cohesive and just overall natural sounding, and I really do enjoy the natural approach to vocals and instruments. The tone and timbre is excellent, and everything just sounds proper. The treble is nicely extended. It does have a little bit of a roundness and a smoothness to things, but it's very well cohesive, and it has a natural aura about it. Soundstage wise, it is a little bit on the cramped side. It doesn't feel like it is super extended. Things do sound like they are slightly compressed and a little bit compact, and depth and layering is a little limited at times, and sometimes I wish that there was a little bit more to things instead of sounding a little bit smushed. Imaging's very well inside of the stage that it does portray, and it does a good job of being accurate and true and very precise. The one thing that I'm kind of nitpicking on here, but it is a little bit of an annoyance at times when compared to some other products, is that it does sound a little compressed, and it lacks a little bit of air. And it is rounding and smoothing things a little too much. And so it's making it more of a pleasant sound instead of being a natural and accurate. At times, I wish that there was a little bit more of that natural edge and just sharpness and just things that kind of grip you and remind you that, oh, that's real. But other than that, the SMSL DO100 is a very pleasing sound, and it's a very enjoyable sound. Connected very well with all of the various inputs, and it sounded the same on everything other than some of the more standard flaws of Bluetooth, in that it was a little bit more compact and a little more compressed on Bluetooth than it was with the other inputs. The amplifier. Now, the amplifier had plenty of power. The amplifier was a beast when it came to powering anything here in the room. I had no problems whatsoever powering plain R's like the Rosso and the Rad Zero, and the Hifi Aria Stealths and the Anandas, Aueze LCD2 closed, Ether C's from Mr. Speakers, Sennheiser HD 8XX 600 660S's, you name it, it powered it very easily. Also had no issues with IEMs, and because of that very low output impedance, it plays well with all IEMs. I had no hissing of any sort with anything. As far as sound, the sound is slightly warm, and it does a nice job of just gripping you and giving you a lot of power, and it's a very clean and clear sound with that little bit of natural warmth. And I find that it does a nice job of portraying whatever is plugged into it as a DAC. I really do like the HO100 as a headphone amplifier, and I find that it is a very competent one, but it is slightly too warm, and it loses just a little bit of those natural edges and sharpness and brilliance that the other amplifiers can provide. How do the HO100 and DO100 as a stack compare to other things? Well, I don't really have any other separate stacks currently, especially at this price point. Most of the products that I have are of a integrated combo unit like the Mytek Liberty DAC, but I do have some externals in the Headamp GSX Mini and the Drop 1 Linear. And as an amplifier versus the Drop 1 Linear, the HO100 just lacks that clarity and that edge and sharpness and just the overall natural tendencies of reproduction. It is a little bit too warm and just a little bit too smoothed over, but it is a very powerful amp. And if you are looking for something that is a little bit more on the fun and engaging and pleasant side instead of a more neutral and analytical sound like the drop THX1 linear is, then for $150 HO100 you couldn't go wrong. As far as DACs in comparison, the Aoshida X1S actually does outshine the SMSL DO100 in a natural, and also giving a little bit more air and a wider separation and a bigger stage, and does a little bit better with depth and layering. Overall, I find that the X1S is the more natural and accurate sounding and is not as smooth and rounded. But if you are looking for something that is a little bit more rounded and smooth, the DO100 would be the way to look. So I like the HO100 and DO100. It's a good budget setup, and I find that it's very pleasant and pleasing sounding. Overall, I give it a recommendation if you are looking for something to play with pretty much anything and to be an all-around setup and a good go-to in the lower end of budget sub 500 market. The SMSL DO100 HO100 is a good purchase. It's been Dave, the Honest Audiophile. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video. Speaking of next video, somewhere on the screen, subscription links and notification bells and all kinds of other things, and so check those off. Also, don't forget to check out the links down below. There's all kinds of information regarding gear lists and recommendations and music lists, and all kinds of other things are down below, along with how you can contact the channel, follow the channel, support the channel. All that kind of stuff is down below. And then don't forget to enjoy the music, and that honesty is the best policy.